Greetings from Act Now. Now, this video addresses karma yoga, or a way to go about your doings during the day that is a healthy way to go about them. Also, this video has to do with the slave race called the human one, and how these two things tie together. Now, let's just put this into a question and answer format. Let's say somebody contacts Act Now, or that is, me, and says, listen, you and I have been in touch for a while, and I noticed that you, Act Now guy, seems to have a bad attitude toward the human race, or about the human race. In other words, you don't express a lot of hope or even personal concern for the human race, but you create and post here on YouTube by way of your Theron Ramacharaka channel, as well as now your Act Now channel, and you know, the things you used to have on your Theron Ramacharaka channel. Some rather helpful things. Helpful to the human race. Things that are very useful and instrumental and down to earth, as well as deeply esoteric affairs that, good grief, if people would just take up with them, could really push people toward their own actual evolvement. And yet, you say that the human race just seems pretty much hopeless? Well, I'm trying to convince you lately, Mr. Act Now guy, Theron Ramacharaka dude, guy, feller, that there is still hope. And I want to offer some evidence for it. Because I've been doing some volunteer work lately, you see, and Act Now guy, Theron, whatever. What I see is that people are coming to do some back-breaking labor for the betterment of society. Same people over and over are doing this. There is hope. I'm doing it. And there are other people doing it. And they're not just showing up once and then quitting. And I furthermore want to point out, my God, people are struggling. And there is hope. All right. My reply. I do notice that you recently have been trying to convince me to have faith in humanity. Well, I don't think you need to try to convince me of that. The main reason being, perhaps I have given an inaccurate impression by way of not clarifying my relevant level of discourse. So, allow me to clarify that. I am not a pessimist. There, done. Oh, wait, there's more. If I were one, I would not do what I do on YouTube. And, you know, as a whole, no matter what, I love humanity. Then again, I love non-humanity. I view humanity from a wider level of observation than do most people. My point of view is broader, I think. I see humanity as one of many species in the galaxy. Excuse me, I'm trying to get more well positioned here, physically. Alright. I see Earth as one of many inhabited planets. Many inhabited spheres. I see humanity similarly to the way that I see other species. Some species do not survive well. Others do. Relatively speaking, humanity is the most pathetic, disoriented, self-jeopardizing, planet-destroying, self-centered, ignorant, and yet chest-puffing species on this planet. Humanity in large is destructive and annoying. Humanity in large has no clue what it is really like, let alone who or what it really is. It has no clue how it comes across to other species on this planet, or on other ones. Humanity is too caught up in its swollen ego to see that it is pathetic, as things stand. And that is why I say that if the race goes extinct, so what? Whatever works best for the evolution of the planet. Or of the solar system, or the galaxy, the universe of universes, the cosmos, whatever works best. Okay? But yes, there's hope. Even for humanity. Just as there is for the earthworm, the amoeba, and so on. I give freely what I can give toward humanity's growth, but not due to much concern for the human race. It's a matter of duty to universal will. I've said it before. And universal is in charge of the results of these actions of mine. I still do not particularly like humans much, but I don't walk around either spewing out hatred or exuding love with respect to people. I simply don't feel much attachment. Sometimes that's hard for others to grasp. They'll take out of that all sorts of things. And yes, people are struggling. Struggling like crazy, like mad. And at one level of discourse, there's no good reason for it. I mean, geez. Just one explication of that. When I was a kid, I was told that by the time I was 50, computers and technology would have made affairs such that humans wouldn't have to break their backs doing labor anymore. Nobody on Earth would have to. Nope, wouldn't be doing it. Not only wouldn't have to, just wouldn't be doing it. We would all be comfortable and well fed with good natural food. We would all be doing what we enjoy to do, and what we are good at doing. Well, that 50 years has passed. And yes, technology has indeed progressed to that point. With respect to its potential. It has progressed to that point, but the actuality got hijacked somewhere along the way. Hijacked. So we still have a shitload of struggle, starvation, and the like. And remember, that was just one thing to say about there's no good reason for it. I could go on and on and on. Slave race, ignorant slave species, and pompous over the current state of affairs. Pompous over themselves. That's kind of all adds up to a big galactic joke. Now, at another level of discourse, I'll bring up another thing that I have said of late. Humanity has got exactly what it deserves. Now, maybe you would argue the point. I don't know. I mean, perhaps it sounds harsh. But the fact is this, and here is some bit of esoteric knowledge, grounded in de facto law. Every single thing has the circumstances that it both deserves and needs. Nothing happens without sufficient reason and efficient cause. Nothing. Period. If saying that humanity has got exactly what it deserves sounds harsh, appears to be harsh, Well, it's worth me pointing out that the seeming harshness is no reflection of some attitude I have. It's a reflection of humanity's state of affairs. I'm not harsh about it. Humanity is harsh on just about everything it touches. And then there is the equal and opposite reaction. Deserved. How could it be any other way? Nothing happens without sufficient reason and efficient cause. Now, let me go on in reply here. While you are doing this volunteer work that you've pointed out, which again, let me say here, good work. It's work for the good, it's good work, and you're doing good work, no doubt, as you do it. So, good work. And while you're doing it, you can practice the viewpoint of the Karma Yogi. The Karma Yogi does not work for results. He does not work for karma. He does not work with cause and effect in mind. He does not work for self-improvement. He does not work to help others. He does not work due to attachments to anything. Now, true, he does such work, but he does not do it for any of those reasons. He does it simply due to duty, to universal will. That's one accurate way to put it. Other terms could be used, but they're all pretty much synonymous with one another. And while it is true that insofar as he does it, or does his actions due to duty to universal will, while it is true, right, that insofar as he does what he does, due to duty to universal will, then if all these potential outcomes, like self-improvement, karmic influence, results, helping others, if all of those potential outcomes fail, just fall flat, he can still freely keep on doing what he's doing. Because he's not doing it for those. He does not do what he does even because of that dynamic. That is, so that if all those things fall flat, he can still keep on doing what he's doing. He doesn't even do what he's doing due to duty to universal will for that reason. In other words, even that way of thinking is result relevant. It's result thinking. He acts due to duty and learns to act. He learns to be less attached to all things, even the outcomes of his actions, while he is still acting ethically, because he's acting in accordance with duty to universal will. His conscience will still evolve. He will be doing what works. His consciousness will evolve along these lines as well. Okay? He acts due to duty, and he learns to act with true compassion rather than with some phony version of it. True compassion can seem a bit cold to other people, for it is not attached. It is love, but it isn't bound. It is not caught up in emotional connection. It isn't limited. He can act the same with respect to earthworms as he can with respect to humanity. He can act with respect to humanity the same as he acts with respect to earthworms. He can act his best and then move on. And if his ego does now and then get involved, his false ego, in any way, he can move past that more quickly, for he has practiced that for such rainy days. And you, doing volunteer work here, as you suggest, are in a good position to practice this perspective. A difficult position for practicing it, yes, because you are volunteering and you are seeing the struggle. But it's a great position for practicing this perspective because you are intimately involved in this kind of... You can see what's happening right in front of you. That makes it a little difficult. It also makes it easy to get to in another way. All right? You can practice this whole perspective. And if you do so seriously, it can lead you to come to some deep considerations for some numbers of years. It can also lead you to some detachment from karma itself, toward balance of karma, toward rising above its crest, riding upon its crest, toward rising above attachment to earth incarnation. But of course, if you engage in this perspective for that purpose, then it won't work. One must actually engage in this perspective to actually be engaged in this perspective. There is no such thing as faking this. Now, let's say in this dialogue, in this interlocution, I am then asked, given a comment in reply, and then asked another question. The comment has to do, let's say, the feedback comment addresses the karma yoga part, and the question addresses the slave humanity part. The comment is, well, that's really hard to do. I would love to do that because I don't really want to come back here. I don't want to come back on Earth at all. I've been saying that since I was a child for some reason or other. And I didn't really understand what I was saying or why I was saying it. But I would be glad. So, volunteering while losing attachment to all karma would be extremely difficult. And ignorant slave species and pompous over the conditioning galactic joke, what exactly are we slave to? What do you mean by this? What exactly are we slave to? And are they or it even human? What? Explain. Alright. Then in reply. Here we go. Reply. Act now's reply. Here it is. Your karma yoga comment and your question about slave to what and are they even human are justified. Well justified. The comment and the question. Now, I have to bear in mind here that my replies can create overload. But also, as you no doubt know, and have heard me say before, I ask that you easily and focusedly attend to the feeling, the meanings of my words here. Focus. I mean, like right now. Focus on feeling. This is a difficult thing for a lot of people to do. It's easy to say, hard to do. It takes practice. Focus on feeling the meanings of my words. Take meaning, for example. What does it mean? Think about it for a second. Just zoom in. Mentally attend for a moment here. The meaning of the word meaning. And when you get a little sense for it, just kind of feel it. Feel it. It will create a slight change in your energy. Some little aspect of your energy will change as you do this. I just want you to feel that. Feel it happen. That's all. I'm not asking for something for you to grasp for something that has never happened before in your life. I'm asking you to become aware of something that always happens. You consider the meaning of just the word meaning. As you're doing it, as a little awareness of that occurs, that in itself is an energy change. I just want you to feel that. Feel it happen. It is happening. I just want you to feel it. A little bit. That's all. I'm not asking you, like I said, I'm not asking you here to search and grasp for something entirely new in your life. No, the only thing new would be feeling it. That's what I'm asking you to do. Attend to feeling the meanings of the words here. I'm not telling you to create anything. Just feel what's happening. Okay? As though this were an attention and feeling training exercise. And that you then trust your subconscious functions to take it from there while you go on to give other things their due conscious attention. This way, there is no perceived overload with this information. And no strain over it. And we get to discuss things as they come up to whatever level of or extent of detail seems to be required in response to your inquiry and comment. Okay? At the time that is appropriate. Anyway, you don't have to go freaking out. Oh, it's too much information. Oh my God, I have to wait a long time and let this absorb in before I can listen to any more. No, just go about it easily. Pay attention. Attention to what? The meanings of the words as they're happening. How do I know if I'm paying attention to the meanings of the words? Well, you can feel the changes they make in you as you're doing it. Takes a little practice, but it's nothing new. All right. I know that over here on my part, I don't think too far into what I write or what I say, what I'm saying here. I'm reading this. This is a script that I wrote, okay? But here in the video, well, I have to just give it to you the way it is in writing here. I don't think too far into what I write. I don't. It just sort of comes out spontaneously at the right moment. Now, I know that over there on your side, if you attend to this at the time of, well, either reading what I wrote or listening now, here, now, right here, now, in this focused and a feeling manner that I suggest, then the subject matter and the details are going to come back around again later on in your conscious awareness. Strange, isn't it, how that would work? If you think about how that works, and you never really had thought about it like that before, well, that can be a little startling. One way to look at it is that it involves you acting in accordance with the fact of the matter that there is an entire ocean of mind power and you are part of it. So, there. I rambled on about even how to, well, listen to this. Karma yoga. Okay? You paying attention a little bit to the, feeling the meaning of the words here. Karma yoga. The yoga of action. That's what the name means. That to which it refers. Action. Yes, it's hard to do. You're right. It does seem to be a catch-22. We can get caught up in acting with the results of karma yoga in mind. Like, for example, I don't want to come back to this planet. I would like to transcend karma. I would like to ride upon its crest a bit more than I currently do. I would like that. Therefore, I will try to act in accordance with universal will. But that's kind of hard to do, because then I'm doing that because I'm trying to get the results of acting in a karma yogic sort of way. And yeah, that's a catch-22. And when we realize that, and then we try not to act with such results in mind, and then we realize that now we are attached to those results, one way or the other. Now it's just in a negative way. Yikes! How do we get over the hump? The same way we get over any such thing. It's a matter of attention control. Oh, we don't want to hear that, do we? Oh, we're in charge of our attention. We don't need any training in that. Yeah. When it comes to doing something like maybe hitting a nail with a hammer, yeah, perhaps we don't need much more attention training with that, because 99 times out of 100, we're hitting the nail pretty well. But with things like karma yoga, yeah, we could use some attention training. We want to actually personally evolve. We want to actually perform well in self-mastery development. Then, yeah. Some self-mastery training, some attention training, some greater attention control, perhaps resulting from a systematic training program of attention training, control is due. Yeah. So the idea that, well, I don't need that. I have perfect control over my attention. It's all well and fine. You know, I make money. I support myself. I've created businesses. You know, I know how to get on the bus. I get through the day. Don't tell me I need attention control training. That's for people who are out of whack. Yeah, well, I hear that a lot from people. And then they run into some idea like this that I'm proposing here, and they say, well, that's pretty hard to do. And I know that it's hard to do, and I know why it's hard to do, and it pretty much just boils down to proper attention control. Not being under control. At one level of discourse, it is a matter of attention control. You do not get past anything by focusing on it. You focus on what you are doing. Here, that's the answer. You focus on what you are doing, not on any result. And what we were addressing right here immediately here was the result of karma yoga itself. How do you get past that hump? You focus on what you're doing, not on any result. Why? Because you're doing what you're doing due to duty to universal will, and that isn't a result. That is a reason. That is duty. I didn't say, I do what I do to harmonize with universal will, or anything like that. I just said duty. Duty to what? Universal will. And yes, it's difficult. With practice, one slowly transcends attachments to things. One slowly acts selflessly, or increasingly selflessly, toward the betterment of humanity without feeling attached to the action or to its object. one opens more to the flow of universal will and slowly loses false ego in connection with it. One gets a bigger picture, inevitably. One can act more easily. You can even come to a point of having a coworker say to you, "Wow, you really care about people, don't you?" And you might reply, "I don't know, I don't really feel too strongly about people one way or the other." Which might make you seem like a liar, or a fraud, or maybe even a sociopath to people who are more slave to their karma and to their emotions than are you by then. Which brings me to your question, slave to what? Are they even human? What do you mean, slave humanity? Ignorant slave humanity. What do you mean? Okay, now, addressing that. It depends upon level of discourse. At one level, slave to false ego. At another, slave to individual minds, one's individual mind's thoughts, emotions, appetites, passions. At another level of discourse, slave to low frequencies. At another level of discourse, or slightly different point of view at that same level, slave to addiction to such. To all of those. At another level of discourse, slave to mental suggestions and inductions and influences. Totally slave to those. At another level of discourse, slave to predator, parasite, psychopath people. Predatorial, parasitic, psychopathic people. At another level of discourse, slave to gangbangsters. And at these couple of latter levels of discourse, and the objects that I have mentioned at those levels, if we back up at least far enough to see the planetary picture, a disgusting view slowly comes into focus. Disgusting. One that becomes increasingly clear. And in time, a little less disgusting as one loses some attachment to it. It's the view of a massive support structure for a few master manipulators. A support structure, the history of which shows a trend of increasingly fine-tuning. The picture cannot be seen all at once. It's too pervasive and integral. It is a perceptual thing here. Not a matter of whether it's actually there to be seen, but a matter of actually perceiving it. And not perceiving it is one of the enslavement tools, in fact. Not perceiving it, and in fact actually balking against the very suggestion of it, is part of the ignorance of the human enslavement scenario. Ignorant slave race. You wanted to know what I mean? Here's one level of discourse about it. So we could say also slave to perceptual distortion, over enslavement, over all kinds of things. But here, really relevantly here, over enslavement and over the perceptual distortion about it. We could also say slave to laboring for others' survival. The very fact that we live on money that at no time belongs to us in the first place. And if you're not certain what that means, look it up. do some homework about it, or just take my word for it. It does not belong to us. It is not our money. Never. I'm not just talking about some esoteric notion. I'm talking about whose paper and what that paper points to, who those things really, who they belong to, what those things belong to, what that value belongs to, whose money it is. The very fact that we live on money that at no time belongs to us in the first place, and that we then pay to get, pay to borrow, and pay to use. And that we do all of that with physical bodies that on this planet are not legally ours, but rather legally are sold on a stock exchange at a value of approximately $6 million that don't belong to us. And considering that humans are legally defined as monsters that do not have the right to own property, just these couple of things alone point to slavery in so many ways that it makes one feel sick for a moment. At another level of discourse, slave to entities that aren't even human, some of which are not even physically visible to us. Need I continue? Or perhaps that is enough for the moment. Slave race. Ignorant slave race. And rather pompous. Slave to whatever beings want this planet's resources. How about that one? Slave to labor. Slave to consciousness hijacking our own selves. Acting as our own mind police over each other. To keep our perceptions in slave tuning. A very cunning plot. And then also, slave to false teachings and dogmas that pretend to offer a way out. Although not clearly stating what that way is out from. So many levels of discourse in answer to the question here. Some of which are packed right in what I just said. Packed right in here. One cannot well function if he is aware of the situation and works to help with the situation if he is attached to the results. He must rise above results in his reasons for doing things and above attachment to the human race. If he is going to function well. If he is trying to, if he really wants to help the situation, he has to stop trying to help and just do the actions without attachment to the results. That's where catch-22s start to pop up about it, right? The karma yoga thing, but I already talked about that. Now I'm making the connection between these two things. The slavery and the action. He must rise above results and attachment to the race. He must step up and out from there, lest he become overwrought with grief, anger, hatred, despair, overwhelm, desire to do more, and so on. He must step up and out without even attachment to the results of stepping up and out. Just acting out of a sense of duty. Not even duty and fuck all the rest. No, I did not say that. I said just duty. Dutiful focus on present action and openness to the flow of universal will. Centered in the true self. And rooted in the absolute. I've said it all before. I've now said it all again. In a somewhat different context. Although the context has come up before too. It's the same stuff over and over. And just like I said, none of this is overwhelming if you just focus on feeling the meanings of the words and then trust your subconscious mind to take it from there while you consciously go on to focus and give due the other things their due attention. And then all of this will swing back around into your conscious awareness at some other time. Just like here. Because it's all been said before. Right here on my channel. Right on my other channel. And if this is the first time you heard any of this, and you have done as I said, how to sense and perceive this information, how to let it in, if you have done as I suggest, it will come back around for you. It'll either rise up in your own conscious awareness, or it'll be triggered by something else from outside, or it'll just plain old be said to you again. And you will know it. Have a good day. Act now.